Hi guys, it's Michelle, and today's video is going to be yet another childhood ruining conspiracy theories video for you guys. Y'all know these are some of my favorite videos to film. I love like childhood ruining theories and just ideas about different TV shows and movies that we all grew up loving. I just think it's super fun. Without further ado, let's get into the conspiracy theories. The first theory I want to talk about combines two of my favorite childhood movies ever, Peter Pan and The Little Mermaid. There's a theory going around that Peter Pan is actually connected to The Little Mermaid. So we see in Ariel's beginning, which was the prequel to The Little Mermaid, that Ariel's mother, Queen Athena, dies at the hands of pirates. Conspiracy theorists believe that we might know more about these pirates than you might think. So in Peter Pan, I thought for a long time that this was just an Easter egg, and maybe it is, but it's way more fun to come up with different conspiracy theories as to why the Little Mermaid is low-key in Peter Pan. In the Mermaid Lagoon, there is a mermaid that strikes a bearing resemblance to Ariel, but also to Queen Athena, her mother. So conspiracy theorists believe that that mermaid in Peter Pan is actually Queen Athena, and Captain Hook and his crew are the ones who captured and killed her. It definitely adds kind of a dark spin on both movies that I find to be really interesting, and I kind of believe it. I know Disney does like to do Easter eggs, but it's a little too uncanny in my opinion, but let me know what you guys think. Following up with another Disney movie that we're going to be talking about is Finding Nemo. So there is a pretty dark theory about Finding Nemo that completely ruined my childhood when I read it. I was just like, come on, this unfortunate. The theory goes that Nemo never actually existed and instead was a figment of Marlin's imagination. So the theory begins at the beginning of the film when the shark attack happens on Marlin and his wife's sea anemone, and Marlin's wife and all of the potential babies, like the eggs, all die. Except for, of course, a single egg being left behind, and that became Nemo. But conspiracy theorists have other theories that none of the eggs survived, and in order to cope with the loss of his entire family, Marlin created Nemo in his imagination and is hectically searching for his lost son. Dory would be his perfect partner in crime in this situation because she is a fish who has a severe memory loss. It makes sense why she would believe all of Marlin's delusions. So Marlin went on this journey to find his missing son as a coping mechanism to overcome the loss of his entire family. But I think the most interesting part of this theory is that Nemo in Latin means nobody or no one. So the title of the movie is literally Finding No One. And I feel like that kind of makes sense. All right, let's dive into some Harry Potter. I love Harry Potter. I grew up kind of hating it actually because my sister liked it, and obviously I hated everything my older sister liked because I'm an Aquarius. But as I got older, I really enjoyed Harry Potter a lot. There are two theories that I find to be very interesting. The first theory that I want to talk about has to do with Hermione. Full-heartedly believe that Hermione knew way too much most of the time throughout the series. I think in general Hermione is extremely smart, obviously, like that's kind of her thing, but I feel like we kind of are not even giving her as much credit as she deserves. I think that she knew the entire time that Harry would have to play a very significant role in Voldemort's downfall, which is why I think that she was even wanting to be involved in helping in the first place. I just feel like as a student who would like normally follow the rules, stay away from trouble, it makes no sense to me why she would want to be so involved with Harry and Ron's little antics to go and try to defeat Voldemort. But it makes sense when you look at it from the perspective of Hermione already knowing that Harry obviously has to be the one that defeats Voldemort. I think this theory rings true for a lot of Harry Potter. Throughout the movies as a whole, I think Hermione knows the outcome of each problem that occurs way before Harry and Ron even consider figuring it out. I just think that that's definitely true. I think this theory plays the biggest role in the Deathly Hallows. I 1000% believe that as soon as Hermione started researching the Horcruxes, she knew that Harry was one. Voldemort and Harry are the only people who could speak Parseltongue. The fact that he lived the day that his parents died, all of it makes so much sense, and it is so obvious Harry would be one of the Horcruxes. There's just no way in hell that Hermione didn't figure that out. And I think the reason that Hermione wasn't the one to be like, this is the case, obviously she was probably hoping for a different outcome because she probably thought that Harry had to fully die in order to kill Voldemort. So I'm assuming that she was obviously distraught by the situation and was hoping that she was wrong. But I think regardless, this theory makes a lot of sense that Hermione always just knew too much. But what do you guys think? Especially if you're like a huge Harry Potter fan, I would like to know. The next Harry Potter theory is a very interesting one. It's pretty popular. I don't know why I haven't talked about this before, but I actually really believe it. I think it makes a lot of sense, and it's essentially that Voldemort, Harry, and Snape are mirrors of the three brothers from the Tale of the Three Brothers, and each of them represent one of the Deathly Hallows. Voldemort is said to represent the eldest brother who crafted the Elder Wand. In the story, the eldest brother sought out power and wanted to conquer death, which is obviously something that Voldemort also wanted in his lifetime. He sought out extreme power throughout the entire series, and that's the reason he created the Horcruxes, is so that he could live forever. So that was obviously part of his goal. Also, Voldemort, like, quite literally wanted the Elder Wand. Like, I feel like it just fits right into place. Snape is said to represent the middle brother because according to the story, the middle brother was the one who crafted the resurrection stone because he couldn't cope with the death of the woman that he loved. And he was so focused on this 24/7. All he would do was harp on her death and try to bring her back to life, which represents Snape's love for Lily Potter, whom he spent years just clinging on to her memory. And the third brother represents Harry. The third brother is said to be humble and wise, although would we call Harry humble? Like, no. That one scene where he's like, well, I am the chosen one. I hate Harry. If you're a Harry Potter fan, I don't know if it's like the same for the books, because I'm not gonna lie, I haven't read the books, all of them. I try to read them ever so often where I'm like, I'm gonna read all the Harry Potter books. I can't do it. As for the movies, Harry is so goddamn annoying, so I don't really know if I agree that he's humble. But the third brother was also in possession of the Cloak of Invisibility because he wanted to remain invisible to death until he eventually passed the cloak down to his son. So Harry obviously also gets the Cloak of Invisibility, and although it was passed down from Harry's father, it was given to him by Dumbledore, whom people believe represent Death in the Tale of the Three Brothers. So obviously, Death and Dumbledore both possessed all of the Deathly Hallows at one point, and also Dumbledore was the one who greeted Harry after Harry was killed by Voldemort. So I think that that's kind of significant. Like, that's his, you know, first interaction with somebody is with Death or Dumbledore. Also, he was obviously able to come back to life at the hands of Dumbledore. So like, if you think about how death is represented in other, you know, TV shows and movies and such, it seems like sometimes they're given a choice whether they want to go back to like life or die. And obviously Harry chose life, and Dumbledore like was the one helping him. So maybe he did represent death. I don't know. I think that this theory actually low-key makes a lot of sense, but let me know your guys' thoughts. Again, if you're a big Potterhead, let me know. Also, please don't be mad at me for not reading the books. I just like actually have the attention span of a rat, and I can't. Like, I want to see it. And I see it in my head. I totally get it. I need to become a reader. I think it would make me like way more smart. Recommend some books. Please not the Harry Potter though. I've tried to get through the first book, like, I want to say like, at least 20 times, so let me know. All right, the next theory that we're going to be talking about has to do with Mary Poppins and Pennywise, which seems like two people who would never be in the same sentence. But the theory is that Mary Poppins and Pennywise are actually of the same species. And it kind of makes a lot of sense. I feel like we just generally think that Mary Poppins is human, mostly because she obviously possesses a human form. But if you think about it, like, she's kind of magical, so we got some questions. To start, Mary Poppins and Pennywise both have the same power to use what lurks within a child's mind, either for good or for evil. While Mary Poppins toys with children's imagination, Pennywise manipulates their fear. In both movies, they begin to lure in a young boy named Georgie. Mary Poppins returns every 25 years, while Pennywise comes back every 27 years. And theorists have an explanation as to why there would be a 2-year difference, and it kind of makes sense based on other theories that we've talked about before. It's basically because Pennywise feeds on children's fear, as we know, but Mary Poppins feeds on their joy. So theoretically, if we like go into the Monsters Inc. universe, which is also a Disney movie, we know that children's laughter and joy is worth more than their fear. In both cases of Mary Poppins and Pennywise, kids seem to forget or misremember a lot of what happened to them. The Banks children just remember Mary Poppins as a regular old nanny and nothing magical about her, while the kids in It seem to forget their childhood mostly altogether. Pennywise also notoriously has a red balloon, while at the end of Mary Poppins Returns, they all like grab onto balloons and start floating into the sky. It's a very strange scene in my opinion, but Mary herself is handed a red balloon. I actually feel like this theory low-key makes sense, and if you go off of, you know, Monsters Inc. like again, and we look at like Sully versus Randall, like obviously Sully ends up using his powers for good while Randall is a freaking evil little lizard. I don't know, like they're the same species but they're different. There's always good and evil, so I think that this theory low-key makes a lot of sense, and it's kind of stupid, kind of funny, but let me know what you guys think. All right, the next theory is about Pokemon, and to say that this is childhood ruining is honestly an understatement. So the theory basically goes that the humans in the Pokemon universe eat Pokemon. Actually, a lot of evidence towards this theory that definitely makes me think that it's true. Essentially, the idea behind the theory is that in the Pokemon universe, Pokemon are animals, so maybe eat them for their meat. We see Magikarp being shown as food, the dorsal fin of a Sharpedo, the pincers of a Crabwaller. The Slowpoke's tail has been described to be simmered in salty stews. Not only does the Pokemon universe use Pokemon for their meat, but also for their various other animal products like eggs, for medicine, so many different things, and it's just so childhood ruining. Like, do you think that Ash Ketchum is a vegan? Like, he's obsessed with Pokemon. He loves finding them. He wants to train them. Like, that's his whole thing. Does he, like, want to train them to just eat them? Like, what is this? This theory is up. It actually gives me the ick. Please let me know your thoughts. And someone please debunk this, because I don't even think it's a theory. I actually think it's true, which just really gives me the ick. I hope Ash is a vegan, honestly. How could you eat a little Pokemon? It's so sad. The next theory that we're going to be talking about comes from ScoobyDoo. It's basically the theory that ScoobyDoo actually takes place in an economic depression. I think this theory makes so much damn sense, and hear me out. All of the places that the mystery gangs seem to end up at are completely abandoned and run down. Like, it seems like almost every building in the Scooby-Doo universe is just run down or abandoned. Also, a lot of the schemes that the mystery gang are cracking down on all have to do with acquiring money. But it's weird because the villains themselves are usually like scientists, engineers, entrepreneurs, and other celebrities that would theoretically already have this money and would not need to create these elaborate crimes to acquire more money. And I think that it's to show that the well-respected workers have become the criminals because of this Great Depression. The theory continues that Shaggy and Scooby only eat Scooby snacks because Shaggy can't afford both food for him and his dog. It also kind of explains that whenever they happen to stumble upon food in some way, that Shaggy and Scooby both get very excited and they eat like they don't know where their next meal is coming from. And it's probably because they literally don't. I would like to hear you guys' thoughts on this theory. It just ruins Scooby-Doo so bad because it's like, damn, I never thought of it like that, but it is true and interesting that all of the criminals are supposedly well-respected people in society who are making a lot of money. But now that I'm saying that out loud, I'm like, is that just like a nod to how our society works? And that like a lot of people who are in high places are criminals at the end of the day, especially in regards to money and money schemes and shit like that. So I don't know. I do think that there's a reason for all of it though, so let me know your thoughts. All right, the next theory is about Courage the Cowardly Dog. I really liked the show as a kid. I don't know why. And there's a super interesting theory surrounding it that I think is actually true. The theory goes the show is actually supposed to all be viewed from Courage, a scared little dog's point of view. The show makes it seem like Courage and his owners, Muriel and Eustace, live in the middle of nowhere. When in reality, it only seems like the middle of nowhere because that's all Courage knows is his own home, his owners, and like his front yard. All of the monsters that we see in the show are actually just random neighbors or various people who might come up to the house that Courage doesn't know. I mean, the show description on Google literally is, quote, Courage is a timid pink dog with paranoia problems. Courage must overcome his fear and help save his owners, Eustace and Muriel, from ghosts and paranormal spirits living on the farm. The theory goes that these ghosts / paranormal spirits are actually, you know, just neighbors and various strangers to Courage. And the reason that they seem so scary is because he's a freaking little ass dog. Like, he's scared. Obviously, to a frightened little dog, the world just seems unknown and big and scary. So that is the theory behind the show. Which kind of makes sense because I feel like Muriel and Eustace never really react to anything that Courage is afraid of. So I kind of think that this theory is like really accurate. Let me know. All right, the next theory that we're going to be talking about has to do with the theory that the Jumpers Jump Boys posted on TikTok. I think that this makes so much sense. I'm just going to play it.
As a child, what was so present with boys' toys? Remember everybody with the Tonka trucks?
Yeah.
Now, I have a theory. Check this out, bro. I have a theory. The people in charge, fam, they know once kids start seeing other jobs that appeal to them more, they're going to stop wanting to do the trades jobs and the blue-collar jobs because it's not as, I guess, like enticing. At a young age, they start brainwashing us. That's why we see Tonka trucks, feel me? The construction hats and shit. Remember that show Mighty Machines? It's all about that. And it's on the kids' channel, fam. What else? Bob the Muffin Builder, bro.
Yeah.
The same shit. Mario was a what?
Plumber. What the
Check this out, fam. The one TV show that's still popping with children today is motherfucking Paw Patrol, bro. Paw Patrol, check this out. Every single character in Paw Patrol is a what?
A worker?
Blue-collar worker. You have Chase, who's a police officer. You have Marshall, who's a fireman. You have Sky, who's a pilot.
Yeah.
The construction bulldog guy, bro.
I personally believe so strongly that everything that is shown to children is specifically to mold them in a certain way, whether that's for good or for bad. I just do believe that that is true. I've personally never realized how much children's toys push jobs like being a handyman, construction workers. I do think that it makes sense that they're trying to get kids inspired to want to be a part of these careers because obviously as kids grow up, they find careers that might seem more appealing. Whether or not that's true to you is obviously up to everyone's personal preferences, but obviously, like, as a kid, if you grew up watching Bob the Builder and you love Bob the Builder, you want to be a freaking builder, then the prospects of being like an NBA player probably sound a little bit less enticing because you still have this more realistic job that you could do that you grew up thinking was cool, which I'm sure it is. So I just think that this is so interesting and it made me really think about what they are showing on children's shows and how it is shaping the minds of children. And I think it's fascinating, but let me know your thoughts. Being an athlete or an actor, while they may be enticing, there also still will be kids who want to be a plumber because they grew up playing Nintendo and Mario was a plumber. Like, it's just kind of interesting if you think about it, but let me know your thoughts. All right, the next theory that we're going to be talking about is from none other than SpongeBob. I think this might be one of the shows that we watched as kids that had so much shit in it that went right over our heads. This theory is so disturbing that I don't even know if I want to believe it. It's just gross and weird, but I kind of think that it could be true because whoever was writing SpongeBob, they were up to something. Like, they definitely had a lot of jokes. I mean, like Sandy Cheeks being named Sandy Cheeks, obviously like sand on the ass cheeks. Like, come on. Like, they just obviously had some dirty jokes. So there's a theory that Mr. Krabs is actually Pearl's sugar daddy. So one of the biggest unsolved mysteries about SpongeBob is why Pearl is a whale and her dad, Mr. Krabs, is a crab. There's definitely been a lot of different theories about this, but nonetheless, I think the theory that Pearl is Mr. Krabs' sugar baby definitely takes the cake of childhood ruining. Like, come on. Unfortunately, this theory low-key makes kind of a lot of sense. Like, first of all, obviously Mr. Krabs and Pearl don't look alike. They're not the same species. Also, Pearl only refers to Mr. Krabs as daddy, which a lot of sugar babies tend to do. Not only that, but Mr. Krabs is obviously obsessed with money. He makes a lot of money, and Pearl is always asking him for money to spend, just like a sugar baby. This theory, it's weird, but I actually kind of believe it. It low-key makes quite a bit of sense. That's disturbing. All right, the last theories that we're going to be talking about come from the movie The Wizard of Oz. There's so much dark shit revolving around The Wizard of Oz, which just seems like a happy-go-lucky movie. Like, this is just a childhood movie. We all grew up watching it. It is so dark beyond belief. So let's get into it. So the first theory that we're going to talk about has to do with the Cowardly Lion's costume. So it was discovered that the Cowardly Lion's costume was actually made of real lion skin and fur. That is so disgusting. Like, that is so disturbing. I think, like, it being made of lion's fur to me kind of makes sense. Well, not really. I still think that's messed up, but I do think that, like, it wouldn't be as shocking. But the skin, like, that's so gross, bro. What the hell? Speaking of costumes, Jack Haley was not always supposed to play the Tin Man. In fact, there was another actor named Buddy Ebsen who was set to play the Tin Man, but when he had his first costume test, he had a severe allergic reaction to the aluminum in the Tin Man's makeup that made him be literally hospitalized in critical condition. He was in serious enough condition that they had to literally replace him. So that's how Jack Haley got the role, which is pretty nuts. Margaret Hamilton, who played the Wicked Witch of the West, was placed on an all-liquid diet because of the copper in her makeup. If she had ingested any of it, was completely toxic. So she had to drink everything out of a straw when she had the green face paint on, which is probably a lot of the freaking day because they had them working crazy hours, which we're gonna get into. But long hours, imagine only being able to freaking eat a damn smoothie. Like, that would drive me insane. I don't even know how much just a straw would help. I feel like Margaret Hamilton must have ingested some copper, and that's really freaking scary. Like, why couldn't they get non-toxic makeup? I don't know, it was like the 1930s. Margaret Hamilton had another malfunction with the set. Basically, in the scene where the Wicked Witch disappears into a cloud of smoke and fire, there's like a trapdoor with an elevator that's supposed to transport Margaret down below the set so that she could get away from the fire safely. But one day that elevator malfunctioned and she was actually caught very close to the fire display, which resulted in her suffering from very terrible burns on her face and skin, which is so scary. I can't even imagine how terrifying that situation would have been, not just for her, but also for the people around who were like trying to get her out of it. It just would be terrifying. The next childhood ruining part about The Wizard of Oz is kind of funny looking back, but also very horrendous and childhood ruining. So the Munchkins were low-key incredibly out of control the entire time that they were filming Oz. So apparently the actors who were playing the Munchkins would get super drunk every night. Whenever they had time off, they would go to bars, get drunk as hell, act disorderly, somehow end up in jail, and the studio had to bail them out. And this kept repeating multiple times. They would also show up to set super hungover and just act completely disorderly and gross. It's even said that some of them tried to put their hand up Judy Garland's skirt. It's disturbing. This is like the funny part. I mean, it's not like not funny. It's just, no, actually it is hilarious. But because the studio was so sick and tired of having to bail these Munchkins out of jail, like, every night, they hired someone specifically, like, their sole job was to watch over the Munchkins. It's such a hilarious concept. Like, imagine that being your job, is just like keeping the Munchkins under control. I can't. I like literally can't. I don't know why that cracked me up so much. I just can't believe the Munchkins were so up to no good, like throughout the entirety of filming The Wizard of Oz. Clearly, without a doubt, though, the most childhood ruining part of Wizard of Oz is definitely the treatment of Judy Garland. I would say The Wizard of Oz heavily contributed to the death of Judy Garland, which might have a lot of people asking questions because obviously she died many years after that. It just so heavily caused so much issue and grief in her life. I truly think that a lot of her death had to do with The Wizard of Oz. So it began with the early casting of Wizard of Oz. The MGM executives, including the studio head Louis B. Mayer, called her a fat little pig with pigtails, which is crazy. After this response from the studio head, the MGM execs ended up putting Judy Garland on a very strict diet of only chicken soup, black coffee, and cigarettes. Like, let's put into perspective that Judy Garland was a child when she was filming The Wizard of Oz. She was 16 years old and put on a crash diet like this, being introduced to cigarettes. Crazy. Another terrible thing that occurred on the set of Oz, they were trying to film the scene of the Cowardly Lion's entrance, and I guess Judy Garland could not stop laughing, like she just had the giggles. So the director, Victor Fleming, who was like a well-respected director in Hollywood, slapped this 16-year-old across the face and then said, now go in there and work. Like, that's just so insane to me. So Judy Garland is known for struggling with addiction, and that is obviously what led to her untimely death. But what a lot of people don't know is that Judy Garland actually got introduced and addicted to amphetamines on the set of Wizard of Oz. So the studio wanted her to be on amphetamines so that she could lose weight, and then they would give her sleeping pills, and after 4 hours they would wake her up, give her more amphetamines, which are uppers, and then she would have to work 72 hours in a row, which is insane and probably part of the reason why Hollywood has laws about how much children can work, because that is just crazy. Like, a 16-year-old working 72 hours, and the only way that it's happening is because you are literally feeding her amphetamines, getting her addicted to uppers, is crazy and so childhood ruining. Like, I don't even want to watch The Wizard of Oz anymore. Like, everything about it is ruined. Anyway, that is it for today's video. If you guys liked it, please give it a big thumbs up. Let me know in the comments below what you guys think about these childhood ruining conspiracy theories. If you have any TV shows you want me to talk about, let me know. Or movies. All of the above. I will look for theories on them. But that is it. Make sure you follow me on Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram. Subscribe for new videos every week, and I will see you guys later. Bye!